This is iCaveAnswers, where I answer your Apple questions. I'm iCaveDave, and this is kind of your show. So if you want to get a question answered on the show, all you need to do is post it up down in the comments section down there, use the hashtag iCaveAnswers. That means that I know that you want me to answer it on a show, rather than just typing you a little message to give you the information that you need. And you too can have all of your questions answered, just like Team Kinetix. iCaveAnswers, rumours are suggesting that the M1X machines will be coming late this year, close to the A15 iPhone release. If so, and things have been pushed back, are we likely to get A15 based M2 machines starting in spring 2022? Do you think that the top tier Mac Pro processors will be a lot of connected M1X processors, or could we see a super mega M2X finishing the Apple Silicon transition late in 2022. So a few things to unpack there. Yes, I do think that the M1X chips are going to be arriving for MacBook Pros at about the same time as the iPhones. Could be at the September event, could be at the October event. We will have to just wait and see on that. I would love it to be a little bit earlier. I would love it to be this month. I don't think it's going to be this month anymore, which is very sad. But in terms of the rest of that release cycle, I did do a full timeline video on this a few days back, so you can go and check that out. But M2 machines in spring of 2022, absolutely, that looks like when we will be getting the new MacBook Airs. Probably a Mac Mini and maybe a new iMac then as well, because then that'll have been out for a year, so that'll work. Yeah. That's when I think we'll be getting them. And then top tier Mac Pro processors with lots of connected M1Xs. So when I've talked in the past about multiple M1Xs being kind of stacked to make these Mac Pro processors, I don't necessarily mean M1, but M1 or M2X, depending which is available at the time. Apple will probably use the latest version of their chips in this, and as I've said with everything else, I do expect that Apple will be doing annual updates on these things. So the Super Mega M2X would be, again, the equivalent of the M1X, but with more of them stacked together for the Mac Pro. So the M1X, we're expecting to get a 10-core chip with 8 performance cores, 2 efficiency cores, 16 to 32 core graphics with the Jade C Die and Jade C Chop versions. And then the M2X will be basically that same architecture, but with a 15 generation cores inside. Hopefully that covers that. But I do think as well we will get that Mac Pro at WWDC next year. Next up, Bryan Data asks, iCaveAnswers, beer, wine or spirits? Also, do you put pineapple on that pizza? And before we answer this one, Bibiask7 also asks, hashtag iCaveAnswers, have you tried pineapple pizza? So we'll address the first part first. So beer, wine or spirits? This is because I work in the drinks industry. I've always been a spirits person, always been a cocktail person, love throwing the bottles around, all that sort of thing. Beer kind of bores me a little bit, and wine is too complicated for me. So that's where we come down. In terms of the pizza thing, good God, no, pineapple on pizza, never. Never, never. It is not a pizza ingredient. Eliezer asks, iCaveAnswers, do you think that this year will be the iPhone 14 and then 2022 will be the iPhone 15 for the 15th anniversary of the iPhone? Now, when I first read this question, I thought to myself, well, that's ridiculous because at the minute we're on the 13, we're on the iPhone 12, but it's the 14th year or whatever it is, and they've never worried about lining them up before. But thinking back to it, we did have the iPhone 10 released on the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. So it's not actually as outlandish as I initially thought. I still don't think they will. I would hope that they're going to move to just doing iPhone 2021, iPhone 2022, but then they release it late in the year, so they'd have to do the following year. So, for example, this year would have to be called the iPhone 2022. Which doesn't make sense because it's 2021. Product naming is hard. Next up, Kevin Slag asks, iCaveAnswers, in respect of a September MacBook Pro announcement and an October release, are you surprised by this timeline? I think a lot of people have been anticipating a new silicon 16-inch MacBook Pro for quite some time, and given that the M1X 13-inch seems to outperform the Intel versions, surely very few people would be buying an Intel one at the moment. I would have thought Apple would want to announce it ASAP, even if the delivery time is long, as at least that way they can gauge interest. What's your thoughts on this? So I think Apple wants to release it as soon as it's available. However, I think the issue is because they're putting mini LED displays into it, like they did with the iPad Pro, which has supply constraints because manufacturers can't make enough mini LED displays to keep up with the demand. I think that's exactly what's happening here as well with the MacBook Pros. I think the mini LED displays have taken a lot longer to perfect the manufacturing than they expected. Therefore, they've had a knock-on effect from the MacBook Pros not getting them, because the iPad Pros are still not clearing the backlog. So I think that's the main reason that we've had a delay in this. But I don't see Apple releasing something and announcing it unless they're going to at least have it on order next month, because otherwise they're just telling all of the competition what they're doing and giving them time to catch up before they get their version out. Kind of like AirPower. Next up, Jack asks, iCaveAnswers, why is Craig a meme? So Craig kind of started being a meme because he decided to be funny on these events. So he was the one that started off talking about the crack Apple marketing team who had to work out the names for the next version of macOS, and how they were looking at macOS Weed, and they were all driving around in a VW camper van and all this kind of thing. And then his hair became famous, the Hair Force One thing, because he just has fantastic hair. And then there was the thing where he opens the MacBook and it lights up, and he just, like, you want to find someone that looks at you the way that he looks at a MacBook. Next up, I'm not sure if this is actually called deleted user as a username or if the user has been deleted, but either way, iCaveAnswers, new rumours say that the Apple Watch Series 7 will have no major features. What do you think? Now, I'm not sure why they would do it with no major features. I can't imagine that they are intending to. However, there's always the risk that new features that they want to bring in aren't ready yet, like the blood glucose monitoring that we've talked about in the past, like the body temperature sensor, which seems like it would be one of the easier ones to incorporate. But all of that being said, the big feature this year looks like it could be the redesign. It could be those new flat sides, and that would be a really nice product to have anyway. So I wouldn't be that sad, I guess. But then I'm also not kind of in the market for a new Apple Watch. I've got my SE that I bought last year. I'm super happy with it. I have zero complaints with it. Not really interested in an always-on display, because if I'm not looking at it, I don't care if it's off. So there you go. And The World is Dark asks, iCaveAnswers, why did Apple tomorrow rebrand his account? So yes, if you didn't listen to today's show earlier on, you would probably not realise that Apple tomorrow has changed. It is now Orchard Digital, and there's a few reasons. Number one is, I guess, that Apple is going after a lot of people that are making renders of unreleased products. So it might be a bit of a waving a red flag at a bull to have Apple's name in your username and use an apple as your icon. So I feel like that's a decent reason enough to change. However, he's also looking to get work doing rendering, doing digital art for other companies that aren't necessarily Apple related. So if you happen to have a company that could use some digital art for presentations, for conferences, anything like that, do get in touch with him. He's a great guy. He works really, really closely with us. I chat to him every single day. And yeah, Orchard Digital, well worth a chat. But don't worry, it's nothing to do with reducing the amount of stuff he does focused on Apple. So that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching iCaveAnswers. If you've got a question, all you need to do, hashtag iCaveAnswers down in the comments section, and it'll be answered for you in a future show, assuming it is vaguely relevant. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.